Noel MacDonald, welcome to the Marketing for Business podcast.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Mate, we're going to have a great chat. And the reason I know why, because I went through your LinkedIn profile and I love what you said here. You help business owners achieve their business and lifestyle goals.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I think that, and I say this a lot, so you might hear me say this again, but for me, a business is always just a vehicle to achieve what you want to do in life.
Nice.
So
What was that?
Yeah, makes it, keeps it simple.
Do you find like a lot of people that you meet, especially, I've met a lot of people now in business, sometimes they didn't realize they started a business. You know, they get in there and they think, hey, I could probably do this better. And all of a sudden they're running a business. All of a sudden they've hired their first person, their second person, their third person, maybe their fifth, sixth person, and go, man, what am I doing? You know, and that dream of that lifestyle is kind of gone because they're working too hard.
Yeah, absolutely. But when I start working with a new client, one of the first questions I'll ask them is, why did you start your business?
Yeah.
And there's 1,001 reasons for that. And the next question will be, is the experience for you so far what you expected?
Yeah, wow.
And most people are not having the lifestyle they imagined for themselves when they first went into business.
When people answer that question, why did you start your business? What do most people come up with?
There's a whole bunch of reasons. For some people, it's they wanted to be their own boss.
Yep.
For some people, they maybe lost their job, struggling to find another one. So
Yeah.
they started up on their own. Some people just saw an opportunity, jumped at it.
Yeah. And the next part of that question, is it working out? What do most people say?
Oh, look, that
I guess in good times, you know, like a business is great, but like you can, like it's the ultimate commission, I must say, you know, running a business.
yeah, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
It's a tough gig sometimes.
Yeah.
Most people will tell you that they are working harder than they thought they would, and it's taking longer than they wanted it to get successful.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I remember that starting my business. I remember leaving the corporate world, kind of had something built up and was working, and then started this other business and started employing people. And I just realized, man, this is hard work, right? Like we're staying up late, was working till 2, 3 in the morning, getting up at 8 again.
Yeah.
Everything else started to go by, you know, and I remember a credit card. I was running the business basically, you know, or I was living on a credit card because we weren't taking any money out of the business. And then woke up one day and I was like, man, this is hard work, right? And I didn't have anyone in my family that was business orientated. We had successful farming family from my granddad and all that, but no one really in business.
Yeah.
So I didn't really understand, you know.
And you've got to be so careful, you know, coming in as an external advisor, you'll never hear me tell a business owner that they're not working hard, because they're always working hard.
Yeah.
They know they're working hard.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go in and say, look, you need to work harder.
Yeah.
This makes no sense.
No.
The trick is looking at where that effort's been focused.
Yeah.
What are the goals that we're trying to achieve?
Yeah, we're definitely going to unpack that, and I think this is why this is an interesting chat for business owners right now. So, you know, hold on, we're gonna really dig deep here. I noticed you've been in business or in and around business for over 40 years. What is it that you love about business?
I think business is the best sport in town.
Yeah.
You know, it can be all-consuming. It can be played at multiple levels.
Yeah.
And you know if you're doing it right or not.
Yeah.
Because you see the scoreboard.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit like yourself, Scott. I didn't go to university.
Yeah.
I left school at the age of 17, I think it was, halfway through the last year. And I've been working ever since.
Yeah, wow. And different type of jobs, like just...
Yeah, all sorts. Yeah, all sorts.
So I noticed you're more involved in that kind of chief data, chief information, finance, IT space. Would that be where your skill set lies?
Yeah, certainly. I like to say that I know enough about computers and programming for an IT manager to consider me dangerous. And I've got to be a wee bit careful because it's a slippery slope sometimes. When you're working on systems, you can start to go a little bit too deep.
Yeah.
But no, I consider myself a generalist.
Yeah.
So.
And what was it about school that you didn't really stick around? You just didn't see the point, or you just didn't get it, didn't want to? Did you like the were you maybe working part-time and started to realize, hey, I like making some money? Like, was that part of it, or just didn't get it?
I'm not going to say it wasn't for me. And I'd always worked. Ever since the age of 9 or 10, I'd had a paper runs. Yeah, all that stuff you did back in the day. I just didn't want to go to university. It didn't suit me.
Yeah.
I went to a Catholic boys-only school in Wellington.
Okay.
But the guys that I would spend my weekends with were in my home suburb. So school was across the other side of town. And the guys I spend my weekends with were into cars and motorbikes, and it was just a different world to where I spent my Mondays to Fridays. And it had much more appeal for me.
That must have been quite quite like going into another world and then having the weekend and coming into
a little bit maybe. Yeah, a little bit.
I probably had it the other way around. I went to a public school, but on the weekends I played cricket, and I played cricket with all the other side of town.
Yeah,
and I was probably one of two that were only, so that was quite interesting, But I guess at the end of the day, schools and your friends, it's the people that you meet along the way that really kind of ground you into who you are and what you're going to do, right? And I think school plays a big part, but at the same time, I think it's your friends to some degree galvanise who you are and how in the kind of some of the values that you grow up with.
Yeah, very much so. There's no such thing as bad people, really. You can get the odd bad person, but I can remember saying to my wife, we have 3 sons, all in their 20s now, and when we were starting to look at high schools, I can remember saying to Lauren, look, I don't want them to go to a school where they will only know the sons and daughters of doctors and lawyers.
Yeah.
I've got nothing against doctors and lawyers or their children, but I want them to also be friends with sons and daughters of factory workers and painters and plumbers and bus drivers.
Yeah.
Because that's the world we live in.
This is the world we live in. It's really interesting. I went to Peppermint High, and I've had 4 people from Peppermint High. On the last one was Shane Bond, who obviously went on to play cricket for New Zealand. We had Darren Prattley, and he said he made a great point. He said, look, because that was that kind of school, right, where there was plumbers, gas fitters, you name it, at the school. That made you more worldly. And I think when I look back, it did made me streetwise. I knew what areas of the school not to go in, and what part of the school I could go in, and that was how you kind of played the game. And I think that you can correlate it into business too. Like there's some areas of business you just don't go into unless you know what you're doing. So very cool. What sort of jobs did you start doing as you started? Because now you're in the world of obviously helping business owners and consulting and coaching, and also own a couple of other businesses. Where did you start to learn your trade as far as what you were doing and helping people and helping businesses?
So it was very much an accidental journey, as it is for a lot of us. I left school and joined what was then the Meat Producers Board. Back in the day, New Zealand had set rules that only the government could sell lamb and sheep meat to overseas markets.
Oh, wow.
Private companies weren't allowed to do it. So I worked for that government body for 8 months until they made me redundant as part of the Labor government coming in and changing everything.
Yep.
And stayed in the meat industry and got transferred down here to Christchurch, worked for Waitaki NZR. So I was working in the marketing department, and on the selling side, but green as, wet behind the ears.
Yep.
Learned a lot over that 5 years.
What was marketing like back then? What was the
look? It was all about relationships.
Yep.
As it should be.
Yeah.
But it was in the days before emails.
Okay.
It was in the days where if you wanted to make a phone call to an overseas office, you booked it in.
Oh, wow.
Everything was done by telex.
Yep.
So every morning you'd have a pile of or a book of telexes that had been sent between the different offices.
Okay.
And you knew every manager in the business was reading those.
Yeah.
So, it was a different world.
Yeah.
There were no computers back in the day.
Yeah.
None at all, except for the big ones that we weren't allowed to touch. So look, it was a good introduction. I went from there and went overseas for 5 years. Ended up in Luxembourg for most of that time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Working in the investment fund administration business.
Yeah.
So that's probably where I would say I learned a lot of numeracy.
Yeah. How did that happen? Like, how did you just rock up one day and get a job here? Do you know someone? Like, because that sounds like a pretty cool job.
Yeah. So me and my best mate, we decided we'd travel overseas together.
Yep.
We got to London, got a job on a building site. and I was rubbish.
Yeah.
My mate he was quite handy. I just didn't know what I was doing. So, and we were working big hours. We were getting up at 5 a.m, jumping in a van
In the dark.
getting to the building site at 7, having a bite to eat, working till 6, getting home at 8.
In the dark.
So I said to him I'd had enough of this, and I went and joined up with a temp agency, got a job in an office, and they offered me 3 weeks' work in Luxembourg. And I thought, well, that's great. I've never been to Scotland.
So good.
Sounds good.
Brilliant.
I didn't even know where I was.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the reason they offered me the job was because they had another Kiwi going. And they thought 2 Kiwis will work better together than a Kiwi and an Aussie, or a Kiwi and a Yapi, or how good. So anyway, I went over there and did that for 3 weeks, and they said to me, would I like to stay on?
Yeah.
And they said, we'll put you up in a company flat in Luxembourg. And I said, yeah. I said, as long as you don't mind if my mate comes and stays there as well. And they said, that's fine.
Nice.
So I stayed there for a year, and then did a bit of a road trip through Spain and Portugal and what have you. Went back to Luxembourg and settled into a flat and a job. And
So you obviously must have been making an impression for being there for 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden getting a job and like in a flat, and
Yeah. I don't know how lucky I was. I enjoyed the work, and I found I had a natural ability to do it, I suppose, working with numbers.
Yeah.
Learned a lot over that time. One of my goals when I went overseas was to learn a foreign language. I thought that would be a
nice
to do. So I picked up French while I was there, although I'd say I'm pretty rusty these days.
Yeah.
So anyway, that took me through to 95, when I decided it was either time to come home or I'd end up staying for another 10 years.
Yeah. Nice.
And I was ready to come home. So came home, joined Smith City, and I was there for 22 years in a number of roles.
So Smith City, obviously, we're recording this in September. Just announced that it's gone into voluntary receivership. And like when you think about and it's seen a bit of shockwaves around Christchurch and around, I guess, the country, because it was a kind of an iconic brand. When you were there, Smith City was definitely one of those iconic brands, right? It was one of the places that you shopped at. And so I'm interested to hear, what are your emotions around that, having been there for 22 years?
Yeah. Mixed. I left Smith City in 2017.
Okay.
And, it was, I've said it a couple of times since, it was a little bit like a divorce.
Yeah.
You put a lot of blood, effort and sweat and tears into a business.
What were you doing there?
When I left, I was the CIO.
Okay.
I'd spent most of my time there running the consumer finance business.
Yep.
But I'd had roles in marketing and IT and whatnot over the years.
Yep.
Look, it's sad to see a business like that go.
Yep.
It's was under new ownership.
Yeah.
Compared to when I was there. It kept the same brand. A lot of the same people were there.
Yeah.
I always think that it's a shame to see a locally owned business disappear, and the international businesses are still here, because those profits go overseas.
Totally.
So it's a shame, but by the same token, it's no real surprise.
No.
Retail is tough.
Yeah. Also, I think, when I look at it from a marketing lens and a business lens, I've been in there a few times. Probably over the last 5 years, they became very confused on who they are. They were selling TVs, they were selling beds, they were selling outdoor furniture, they were selling kayaks, they were selling, all this stuff, coffee makers. And when you look at the marketplace, a lot of those stores, or a lot of their competitors, have gone very niche. You've got JB Hi-Fi, who sells TVs, but also have own Freedom Furniture, who sell furniture. They don't mix you don't see JB Hi-Fi selling furniture, and I think it became such a competitive market. And when you're that broad, it probably doesn't help you in this kind of marketplace.
You've always got to have a point of difference.
Yeah.
And if you go back in the day, Smith City's point of difference was its finance book.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so much that we were an appliance retailer and a bedding retailer and a lounge suite retailer. What we were was a household retailer to the families who could not afford to come in and pay cash.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they knew that if they had a credit history with Smith City,
Yeah.
they could always come in and buy what they needed.
And credit history was massive too, wasn't it? Like it was
It's a noise.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
still is to an
Yeah.
extent.
I do remember I worked at Bond and Bond, and just as I was starting there, we had, if you wanted somebody, there wasn't really any finance, and then all of a sudden there was 3 post-dated checks that you could pay. So you could give us the 3 post-dated checks, we'd bank them at certain times, and then all of a sudden 6 months 6 months interest free or 6 months interest came in, and that just changed the game.
Yeah.
We did 12 months, then 18 months, then 24 months. 24 months was the big one. That was huge, right? Like people were like 24, and that's when that whole finance thing became such a big part, and people realized they didn't have to have cash to buy what they wanted.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, from a marketing perspective, you're switching the conversation. It's not about price, it's about affordability.
Totally.
And it's a game changer.
One of the craziest things I learned straight away was this guy, young fella, Darren. He's a wee bit older than me, but he said to me, here's your new best friend. He showed me this calculator, and this calculator could work out all the finance. And he says, and he just said, show them how they can afford it.
Yeah.
You know, get what they can pay, or find out what they want, figure out how much they're willing to pay per week, and make it work.
Yeah.
And seriously, that was unbelievable how people went from seeing a TV that maybe cost $3,200 to seeing $60 a week.
Yeah.
That's all they saw.
And so many of our customers they knew that their budget allowed for $100 a month, whatever it was.
Yeah, they knew that. Yeah, exactly.
And if they paid off the washing machine, they knew the next one was the dishwasher.
Totally.
And finance can get a bit of a bad rap from a lot of people, and it's not always unjustified.
Yeah.
But over that time with Smith City, there are a heck of a lot of South Island families who had a standard of living that they wouldn't have achieved without finance.
My mum's single mum, she would have been one of them.
Yeah.
She shopped that place, that was Smith City, yeah.
And look, if you're a single mum and but you probably you played cricket, maybe a bit of rugby or something, it's your turn to get the washies.
Totally.
You need a washing machine.
You need a washing machine, right? Yeah. And they definitely, and I guess that's the sad part about it. The icon that it was is now gone. Well, is it gone? Someone might bring it back, but I think it is a little bit sad that there are places like that. But I think you're right, definitely in the finance game. But like, hey, now there's so many options, and people just have choice.
It's a different world.
Yeah, it is
than what it was.
It is a different world. Hey, so obviously, you're in a kind of a integral position though, Chief Information Officer. Like you climb in the ranks of that. Like, what was with no degree? It must have been a competitive environment. You're up against people, probably with degrees and that sort of stuff. How did you keep staying ahead?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that question. There were certainly smart people, and still are smart people working there. I think that I guess what it would come down to for me, and I say this having a son, one of my sons who just defended his thesis and is going to be awarded a PhD.
Wow!
So he's at the top of the tree in terms of academics, which is fantastic.
Does he take after his mum? Or?
Yeah, definitely. It was PhDs in maths. That's his mother's brains, not mine.
Oh, that's impressive.
But and good on him.
Yeah.
But his 2 brothers will not go to university. They've got no interest in it.
Yeah.
They will be just as successful in whatever they decide to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know that a degree is necessarily the key differentiator.
No.
I think the thing that a degree is good for is it tells you what you don't know.
Yeah.
And as a what I guess as a self-educated person, the thing I've always struggled with is I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah. True.
Now, it's easier to fill those gaps these days.
It is. It is. One thing I saw it in your byline of LinkedIn, and I've heard you mention it just before about goals. There wouldn't have been that many people. I know I didn't set too many goals when I went overseas, but you set a goal to learn French. You're setting goals to help people. How do you set goals, and where did you learn that? Because that's quite I believe goal setting is a massive part of being successful and helping you get ahead ahead. Obviously you've learned that somewhere because you set a goal to learn French while you're away.
Yeah. The expression I use with my clients is pretty simple. It's called success by design.
Cool.
So you decide what you want to do and you design a path to get you there.
Nice.
And, I know there's a lot of talk out there about visualization and if you can dream it, you can pull it off. I don't actually agree with all of that, but it does start with deciding what you want to do.
Yeah.
And if you're looking over a decent time frame, like 5 years, you can achieve a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
So for me, the magic recipe is knowing what you want to achieve.
Yep.
Having the time to spend on thinking critically about how you're going to achieve it.
Nice.
Focusing your effort in the areas that are going to make the difference.
Yeah.
And having a good network for support.
Yeah. Network for support. I love that. Let's unpack that a wee bit. Okay. Because knowing what you want to achieve, what are some of the things how you help your clients with that? Because I've talked to a number of people about this and a lot of people, you ask them, well, what do you want to achieve? And they'll go, well, I'm not sure. But if you ask them what they don't want, and they start rattling off a whole bunch of things that they don't want. So how do you help people get clear on what they want to achieve?
What we do, we do a personal vision session.
Okay.
That might sound a bit airy-fairy and fluffy, but it's actually a really good thing to do.
Yeah.
And I'll always insist that the business owner brings in their life partner, a husband or wife or whatever. And, I'm in exactly the same boat. My wife, Lauren, and I, before I started doing this, I would not be able to count the times, because it didn't happen, where we would sit down for 2 hours and just talk about what we wanted for ourselves and our family 5 years down the track.
Nice. Yeah. Well, there wouldn't be many people that would do that, right?
Well, you don't,
Yeah.
right? You just get on with the life. So we do a personal vision session, and there's a bit to it, but we have a number of headings that we work through, and we try and be as specific as possible. So I would say, for example, Scott, 5 years down the track, what sort of house do you want to live in?
Yeah.
Where do you want it to be? And I'm going to ask you to be as specific as possible.
Nice.
What sort of barbecue are you going to have?
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, and what are the kids' bedrooms going to look like? They have a bedroom each, probably these days. Wouldn't have done polls.
Yeah.
But you start to fill in the picture. And the important thing about that is it becomes the motivation for the changes that we need to make in the business. Because change is not always easy.
Yeah. So you're painting this picture of where people want to be and how, and then obviously this then gives them a bit more crystallization. At that time, do they think they can have it though?
Yeah, I think most of them do. And I encourage people to make it aspirational.
Nice.
And I actually had this best thing that's happened to me this year.
Nice.
I had an ex-client call me up and say, let's have a catch-up over a coffee. And I said, great. Haven't seen him for 2 years. And he came in and he said to me, he still looks at his personal vision every day. It's on the wall. He said, we have achieved this and this and this and this. And he said, we would not have done it.
There you go.
At that process.
That's awesome.
Look, it just made my whole year.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Because that sort of stuff, getting clear on what you want, and then being that specific, like your brain starts to look at ways you can achieve that, right? And if you're a motivated person, and you become even more motivated, and then it becomes as like you use it as a tool to make better decisions inside your business, how good's that?
Oh, look, it's just fantastic. The problem is we're good at talking ourselves out of things. We'll stand at the bottom of the hill, we'll look at the top and we'll think, hell, that's a long way up.
Yeah, I did that skiing about 2 weeks ago.
Right. when you got halfway up or you got to the top, did you look down and see where you'd come from?
Well, it was 3:30 in the afternoon. I thought I better not drop down that chute because I have to take my son home. And if it had been 11, I probably would have had a go. But I was like, oh, maybe not at 3:30.
Well, you're already up the top, so that.
Well, that was good. But like, I think like getting clear on that, and I really so what are some of the other headings that you look at? Because obviously a house is a good one. There, look at the travel.
Yeah. So we talk about things like what hobbies do you want to have?
Yep.
What do you want in way of education?
Nice.
Is there something you really want to learn that you haven't learned yet? What are your aspirations in terms of your health? and fitness.
Nice.
The word wealth always goes up there.
Yep.
And it's always interesting to me. Some people are 100% comfortable with the word wealth.
Yeah.
No problem at all.
Yeah.
Other people feel much more comfortable when I cross that word out and I write freedom instead.
Nice.
So some people,
Yeah.
no problem with saying,
Yeah.
I want to earn money. And,
Why do you reckon some people don't like the word wealth?
oh, look, I don't know. I'm nobody's idea of a psychologist.
Beliefs, old beliefs, hold them back.
A lot of it could be, family side of things.
Yes.
We all know people who maybe have a little bit too much focus on money.
Yeah.
Maybe that turns them off a little bit.
Turns them off.
Yeah.
Because obviously freedom is a byproduct of having money too, right?
Well, that's what else is it for?
Yeah, exactly. And like it's when you start to play the game of business, you realize that too, right? I personally, I got a 12-year-old son. I really love school holidays. Beforehand, I didn't really understand the power of them, and was probably working. Now that he's at that age, it's like, I have the freedom to go and do that. I think it's that is a very cool part, and obviously, people have different ways of thinking when it comes to this, but I really, taking the time to get this clear on this, I can see how it becomes very motivating for people.
Well, it does become motivating, but it also makes a lot of sense, because if we sat here and we talked about the business, I said, where do you want the business to be in 5 years? You'll have a few ideas.
Totally.
But
It's written down.
But for a lot of people, it doesn't actually make sense until they can say, well, this is where I want myself and my partner and our family to be in 5 years. The business is what's going to get me there.
Yeah.
So if I want that lifestyle, the business needs to look like this to support it.
Yeah.
And in order for the business to look like that, I have to get it from where it is today. So it's the start of building that business plan.
Okay. And then part 2 of that was taking time to have some critical thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Talk me through that, because that sounds, I like the sound of that.
So, we all get swamped by information and stories and news and ways of doing things. And it's very easy to buy into something that people tell us is true. And I'll give you an example. This is something I was thinking about earlier this morning. Everybody knows about the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. And you'll hear a lot of people in business talk about the KISS principle, and they'll try and apply it. And I have a problem with this, because when it was first used, it didn't mean what people think it means today.
Really?
It doesn't mean, hey, stupid, keep it simple.
Yeah.
The phrase came out of the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, where they developed new planes and whatever.
Okay.
By no stretch of the imagination was their product a simple product.
Yeah.
What it actually meant was, keep the stupid parts simple. So if something goes wrong, make it easy to fix.
Nice.
So, that to me makes a lot more sense in a business than keeping everything simple, because why would you?
Yeah. So what was that? Keep the stupid parts.
Keep the stupid parts simple. So the example they gave was, if one of our planes breaks down, we want it to be repairable by an average technician using a basic toolkit in the field.
Nice.
That was their goal.
Yeah.
I can't say we.
Yeah. Okay.
So keep the stupid parts simple. That's what it should mean.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing for a business to try and achieve.
Yeah, totally. And so having that lens, so that critical thinking part.
So the critical thinking part is to say, don't take everything at face value.
Yeah.
Dig a little bit deeper and find out what it's actually trying to tell you.
Yeah. When should people do that? Like, are we talking about just with processes? Are we talking about clients? Are we talking about product? Are we talking about the people? What parts of the business?
Oh, I think you do it everywhere. I know that digital influence, for example, does a good job of that. One of the things I love about your business is the offer that you have to build a marketing strategy.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
For me, that's a classic example of critical thinking.
Yeah. Well, and a big part of that is, I really believe in designing the marketing strategy to pick the tactics to produce the results you want, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes down to thinking at the start. Like marketing fails because you run tactics without the thinking, that critical thinking of why people should do business with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are you different? Why should people choose you? There's a whole aspect to it.
Look, I love it, and I think you guys do it so well. And if I was going to put it in the context of what we're talking about here, you've got that critical thinking part to start with. And for me, what critical thinking really boils down to is recognizing something for what it actually is.
Yeah.
And then you have the whole success by design approach.
Yeah.
Which is it's my bread and butter. It's great.
Yeah. And that way allows you to, when things maybe don't work, you can get back in and analyze. You can get back in and revisit that, and you can start to think, okay, well, here's what I need to do now. Here's what I need to do next, versus not knowing, which is, that's okay. So critical thinking, so we know where we're going. Now we're going to spend some time doing critical thinking. Like what should a business owner, if you're looking down the lens and talking to a business owner, how much time should they be spending on this? Because I've heard from very successful people how much time they spend on this, and there's more value in this than there probably is just doing the whacking and the cracking, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's always a challenge, isn't it? How much time do you spend on the business versus how much time do you spend in the business?
Yes.
And I guess the thing that comes to mind for me is something that Albert Einstein once said. He said, if you give me an hour to solve a problem, I will spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about the solution.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, because he's crystallizing all the things, all the problems, but then, he, end of the day, by reversing that, you'll get the solution straight away too.
Yeah, he's making sure he's understanding the problem.
Yeah, the real problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a technique called the 5 whys, which I think came out of potentially Toyota. And it's designed for use in an environment where there is a problem, and obviously manufacturing with Toyota. And what they say is, get the people who understand the issue in the room.
Yep.
Agree on what the problem is.
Yep.
And then say, why is this happening? And try and boil it down to 1 or 2 reasons. And then say, right, why are those things happening?
Yeah.
And what they say is, by the time you go down 5 levels of why, you've found the real problem.
Yeah.
That's what you fixed.
Yeah. And that can be quite confronting though.
Yeah. Well, it's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess that's the thing. And that's why you said it's the ultimate game. I believe business is the ultimate personal development game. It's taken, as you said, there's different levels to it. And it puts a lens on you as the person or as the owner of the business. The business will only grow as far as you can grow. If you can't see the bigger vision and sit down and think and be that person, the business doesn't grow. Yeah, and I think that's something I've really realised about myself, And I was actually in a really nice mastermind group with some entrepreneurs here in New Zealand, and I realised I'd hit a point where I was, I was learning, but I wasn't learning the bigger game. Right. And then I realised I had to go to the States, and I had to get around, agencies that are doing, they have 50 staff that are doing tens of millions of dollars. And I had to see what they were doing differently for my brain to go, actually I could do that. We're not that far away. But to get in that bigger environment, so have that critical thinking around, just playing too small. And I think that's where it is the ultimate personal development game, and it makes you think. And I think thinking is probably one of the hardest things to do.
Look, maybe. I think there are.
I should say it's one of the hardest. It's one of the easiest things not to do.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. Because you could get distracted today. Yeah. But actually putting time aside and going, hey, I'm going to think about this. Yeah. Can be a wee bit challenging.
Yeah, and look, I'm a big believer in using frameworks.
Yes.
If you want to develop the way you think about stuff, you should know what some of the frameworks are that you can use.
Nice.
And
give me a framework.
All right.
So that 5 whys, by the way, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
It's copywriting, really digging out the why, and you get to the final thing, and there it is. There's the breakthrough. There's the real problem, and here's how you put the torch on it.
Yeah. So an example that I went through recently with a client, that they're looking at starting a new enterprise in Christchurch, and they needed to identify a building and that they could use. And they were a little bit uncertain about the different attributes of the building that they wanted. They had a lot of ideas, a lot of good ideas. And in the end, what we did is we said, well, let's pick some criteria, which we did. And we said, right, let's score them on a scale of 1 to 10.
Okay.
But if it's over a 5, it's going to be on the B list.
Okay.
And if it's 1 to 5, 1 being the highest score, then it's on the A list.
Okay.
And we went through this process and we said, well, let's talk about location. If it's within the 4 avenues, it's automatically an A. If it's outside the 4 avenues, it's automatically a B.
Yep.
Tenancies. If there are other tenancies on the same premises, it could be an A. But if we need to sublease part of it, it's going to be automatically a B.
Okay.
And at the end, we'll add up the scores, and that will give us a scale that we can start to put these buildings up against each other.
Nice.
So it's not complicated.
No.
It's just a framework that helps us move forward.
Move forward rather than like doing nothing.
Or rather than getting paralysis by analysis.
Yes. Yeah.
It's such a subjective process that sometimes, as with so many things in life, you're actually better to get it 80% right and move forward and try and get it 100% right.
Yeah. I find myself sometimes definitely getting into that space, especially, buying investment properties. I'll overthink it. But shares, won't overthink it. That investment property. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And shares, I will put money into shares that I think, and I'll do a bit of research, but I'll just investment properties for some reason. I'll figure out a reason. That's not a good investment right now.
Yeah.
And I need to do that critical thinking. I'm going to do that after this around the couple of properties I'm looking at buying at the moment, and really be subjective with it. Being objective around that.
Yeah. Like, I think it's always good to have a strategy. I don't think that means we want to be locked into the strategy forever, because not everything works the way we think it'll work.
No.
But you can't go wrong with thinking about stuff.
Yeah. No, it's so true. So true. This is awesome. Hey, so in that whole, what was the third one? You had knowing
what you want to do.
Yeah, knowing what you want to do, taking time for critical thinking, focusing on
just having focused effort. So working on the stuff that's going to make a difference. In other words,
perfect.
A lot of the time, and we're all guilty of this, I think, is we do the things that we know how to do because it makes us feel good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we should be devoting some time to the things that actually make us a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because they're the things that we need to be improving on.
Yeah. One of our core values here is eat the elephant, right? Or address the frog, eat the elephant. Was it address the elephant, eat the frog, and we have a stand-up meeting, and eat the frog basically is doing the hard stuff first.
Yeah.
And I know Rachel today, she said she'd already done the hard stuff this morning first by eating the frog, and I thought that was brilliant. Like just doing stuff that you don't really want to do, but you just do it because it's really gonna help later on, and you have a better day because of it, right?
Yeah. Look, the classic example, and I've seen this a few times, is the business owner who is struggling with cash flow and will not sit down and do a cash flow forecast.
Yeah.
Because it's just too painful.
Yeah.
And it becomes this big thing for them.
Yeah.
When in reality, by sitting down and putting that effort in, they're exercising a bit of control over the situation they're in, and they're going to feel much better.
Yeah. I was actually talking to a lady last week about money on the podcast, and it was really interesting because when I was in credit card debt, I was telling her I would never open up the credit card envelopes, right?
Yeah.
And I remember cleaning out my garage years and years later and debt free and don't have a credit card anymore. And I remember finding these unopened credit card statements, and I started opening them, and obviously no longer had that credit card, no longer had the debt, and it was really, really interesting how much I just covered it up.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I confronted that things changed for me, right?
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. You actually made a good post on LinkedIn about that, and I wanted to talk to you about that, because you wrote that turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, but cash flow and cash is king, right? And then you wrote that there's 3 things to that. Let's go through those 3 things. So I think that's part of what you were just talking about, and how that relates to the business owner, and how actually, how you would help them through that. Because I think right now this could be an issue for a number of business owners.
Cash flow.
Yeah.
100%.
Like we're in September, and people said survive till 25, and now like it's not really turning that way for a number of businesses. We're probably seeing record number of businesses going out of business, and still got a relatively bumpy road for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's fair. There's still a number of headwinds out there. I think that there are some sectors that are doing okay. And there are some businesses that are doing well, but no question. And I would never want to trivialise the issues that a particular business is having. I think that there is a danger that, especially with so much of the media driven out of Auckland and Wellington to a degree, is that we pick up the narrative that applies up there and we put it to us here. And the reality is that Canterbury is doing better than a lot of the North Island. But yeah, so the things with cash flow versus turnover or whatever is, first of all, how do you measure success in your business? And turnover is a big thing for a lot of businesses. But there are so many different levers that can be pulled to help with cash flow that that some people are just scared of. Some people are scared of ringing up a customer and saying, hey, you haven't paid your invoice yet. And why would you be scared about it?
You've done the work.
It's a conversation. And I can tell you that a lot of the time, the customer's more scared of hearing from you than you are of ringing them. So just give them a call. Have the conversation. A lot of it comes down to process. There's nothing more frustrating for me than seeing a business that's doing good work that is struggling because they don't do their invoicing on time.
So just not having the right processes.
Not having the right process.
I remember speaking to a mate recently, and he was doing his PAYE and all that by Excel.
Right.
And I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, do you know there's software that can just do all this? He goes, I'm doing my payroll. I was like, what? Like, it's 2024, man. Like, it's 2025 nearly. That's when we were talking last Christmas.
And
I couldn't believe it. Like, but there are businesses out there that are not using these tools, not taking advantage of this sort of stuff, and have a very manual processes still.
Look, we all have our blind spots. That's one of them. I can remember going in and talking to a business owner a few years ago now, and it was pretty clear to me what we needed to do in the business to improve it. It was an engineering business. But it didn't go anywhere because, I still laugh about this. His wife said, look, we don't need a business advisor. All we need is call him Fred, is for Fred to do what I tell him. I'm not sure if that would have made the difference or not.
Amen.
Well, that was a business that could have used some help.
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting point that you make, right? Like I think, I go to the States and everyone there has a coach. They all have a coach. They all have consultants, coaches, all working for them. They all want help. They all see the bigger picture. Here in New Zealand, maybe not so much, right? It's not seen as a thing. It could be like in America, it's seen, well, I have a coach, I'm better for it. Maybe sometimes in New Zealand, it's I have a coach, and then maybe there's a weakness to that. Like, I don't know. How do you feel about that? Because I personally think on the other side, like having a coach is great. Like,
Yeah. Look, clearly I've got a conflict of interest here, but what I would say is the best sports people in the world, the best teams in the world, they all have coaches. Why do they have coaches? They're already at the top of their game. They have coaches because they want to continue to improve. They want someone who is going to be objective and hold them to account. and see the things that they can't see.
Yeah.
There was an American football coach who came up with a great quote, and I'm going to see if I can remember this off the top of my head. He says something like, a coach is someone who sees what you don't want to see, tells you what you don't want to hear, and helps you be what you always knew you could be.
How good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And the crazy part is, like, I love, me and my son and my wife, we love watching the documentaries on sports.
Right.
And you see these, you know, like American guys playing gridiron and stuff. And there's a great one at the moment called Quarterback out there. And the best of the best don't have one coach.
No.
They don't have two coaches. They got 3, 4, 5 coaches in their corner helping them nonstop, you know?
Yeah.
And it just makes me realize that, you know, as a business owner, you should be getting help. You should be getting someone on your side, other people on your side to look and lift your blind spots up, right? And helping you see. You've got a good analogy. And obviously, you're an experienced, enthusiastic motorcyclist, and you made a good point around I've never really ridden a motorbike except for on a farm, but let's just say you're going from Christchurch to Nelson. That's a drive I drive quite a bit. I couldn't see myself on a motorbike doing that drive, right? But I can see myself in a car. You made it a point that if you're going to go, you know, a fair distance, then on a motorcycle, it's about planning. You got to plan for a whole bunch of stuff. And then you related that to business and owning a business. So talk to me about that, because I think it's really, it's a good analogy. And I know you've got a couple of things you can unpack to help business owners there.
Well, let me start by saying I want to tell you a wee anecdote here, because obviously this has come from my Oxygenate profile or something on the website.
Yeah.
And when I wrote that, I wrote it down, and I think I've got the wording right. Something like, as an experienced and enthusiastic motorcyclist, Noel understands the value of good risk management and systems. And I went home and I said to my wife, Lauren, I said, this is what I'm thinking about putting in here. And she said, oh, you should just change one word. And I said, what? And she said, make it read, as an experienced and enthusiastic husband, Noel understands the value of risk management and systems. And I didn't go with that, but I thought it was all clever.
Oh, that's gold.
So, look, yeah, I think there's a lot of analogies between what is a passion of mine, which is motorcycling, and business. And one of them is there is this thing called target fixation. Most motorcycle accidents happen on dry roads, clear days, with no other vehicle.
Wow.
And a lot of the time, you might think that that's because they weren't focusing, weren't paying attention. Quite often, it's because they're paying attention to the wrong thing.
Oh, wow.
And target fixation is a term used for when you're looking at something off the road that it's caught your eye, whether it's an animal or whatever it might be, because the bike is going to go where you look.
Yes.
And it's a little bit like that in business.
Yeah.
Whatever you're focusing on, that's likely to be where you end up. And that's why we talked about your son's football game earlier. That's why coaches will teach soccer players not to look at the goalie when they're kicking for goal.
Yeah.
You look in the corner of the
net. Yeah.
That's why they teach glade skiers not to look at the trees. Yeah, look at the trail. You go where you look.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it. But I think also if you're going to go on a decent motorcycle ride, you're always going to be thinking about what's happening with that intersection up there. Is that car going to pull out in front of me?
Yeah.
Do I need to slow down? The answer is probably yes.
Yeah.
Am I going to pull back a wee bit from the truck in front because he's got what looks like a bit of a shonky load?
Yeah.
There's always going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to always if you're going to react to something, you want to know that you have a good idea of what that reaction is going to be.
Yeah.
And it's the same in business.
And you think you get that, like the more you ride, the better you get at that. And obviously the more you're in business, the better you get at that.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. You know, you're an experienced business owner.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure, that there are certain times a year where cash flow is going to be tight.
Yeah.
So you know in advance what your reaction is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And you plan for it, right?
And you plan.
That's just the way it is. Like, you know that there's GST and PAYE and everything else that's going on.
That's right.
You know, so you plan for it.
You plan for it.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate reality is that a lot of smaller business owners who aren't as experienced or as knowledgeable don't plan for those things.
Ask me how I found that out.
Well, you find out.
You find out the hard way. And I think that's the interesting thing. You do find out the hard way, and then you go, okay, well, who do I need to go find out a better way to do this. And look, I think, this is what I love about the business community that we've created. We're surrounded by, the likes of yourself, but a lot of other people that are willing to help. And I think that's one of the kudos things I love about business owners. Is successful business owners will help other people. And I wasn't brought up like that way. I was told that business owners were like this and business owners were that and all this sort of stuff. But the more I've been in business, I realized that business owners want to help other business owners. And now even more so, you can learn a lot about business just by watching YouTube videos and stuff like that as well, on finance and how to structure finance properly, where that was never available.
There is an amazing amount of information out there.
Yeah.
And, the key part to it, I think, is that you go back 25 years. If you wanted that information, you had to read a book.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't like reading books, you don't have to read books.
Yeah, you don't
just
have to
pick up a lot of that information.
Yeah.
But the key message, I think, is that, and I think this is where people go wrong. A business owner who looks for help isn't weak.
No.
They're smart.
No.
Because why would you handicap yourself?
Exactly. That was kind of the thing I got from the States is like, hey, these guys and girls just see it as giving them, there was like their secret weapon, They had these people on their side helping them, coaching them, making them, and the cool part about, I'm in a 7-figure agency in the States, and they have a coach for sales, they have a coach for account management, they have a coach for SEO, they have a coach for Google AdWords, they have a coach for CRM systems, all these different coaches that if you got an issue, you can go on and call on and have time with, which is pretty cool, right? So there's no excuses. Hey, so when you're helping business owners, I know you've got a number of different programs. I know you've released a new one recently. Talk to me about that. Is it called MAP?
It's called MAPS. Yeah,
MAPS.
So most of the time when I work with a client, it's on a one-to-one basis, and it's almost exclusively with the business owner.
Yep.
And that takes not just an investment of money, because I charge a flat fee a month, but also an investment of time.
Yeah.
And quite a lot of time to start with while we're pulling the business apart and building the business plan. And I get approached by a lot of smaller business owners who do want some help and recognize that they could use some help, but don't have the resources to be able to engage on a one-to-one basis. And part of that is they couldn't afford the fee. And I do work with some small businesses on a pro bono basis or for a reduced amount sometimes, but there's a limit to how much of that I can do.
Yeah, totally.
But quite often also it's because they don't actually have the time in their day to be able to work through the process properly, the way that we've designed it. So what we put together was a new program called MAPS, stands for My Action Plan for Success.
Nice.
We think so. What it is it's a 4-week course. It's 2 hours a week. And we work through a number of different parts of the business. So we go through team and personal management. We go through sales, marketing, operations, supply chain, finance, and a budget.
I like it.
And one of the things that we were really keen to do is to get rid of the whole perception of needing to do massive Word documents and spreadsheets and things like that. There's a lot of people that just don't want to do it, and I can blame them.
No.
So we built an app specifically for this program that we think makes it pretty easy to say, well, here are my challenges, here are my opportunities, here are the actions I'm going to take. And after 40 years of writing budgets, I can tell you that the way that this lets a business build a budget is the easiest method I've ever found.
Brilliant.
So we have this. We're just launching it. We limit it to 6 businesses at a time in the room. We make sure they're all in non-competing industries. And we have 2 Oxygenate facilitators in the room as well. So one of us will be presenting on whatever it is, and the other one is in the room to give people a hand if they need it.
Brilliant.
And we put some business cases together, or some case studies, I should call them. So we picked a small business, a medium-sized business, and a larger business. We said, well, here are these imaginary businesses challenges, and we use that to start the conversation. so that people don't have to feel like they're, opening the kimono and talk about their business. They can sort of project it onto this fictitious business. Look, we're very, very positive about the whole thing.
What's the time investment in that, something like that?
It's 2 hours a week in the course for 4 weeks. And we obviously expect that there'll be a bit of time they spend outside of those hours just putting information in.
And what sort of time of day can you come in and do that?
Oh, it's flexible. We're sort of starting it at 4 in the afternoon at the moment. We figure people want to get some time in at work for obvious reasons, but we don't want to finish too late, so we finish at 6.
Nice. Okay, and who's that kind of suited to that sort of course?
So I think it's suited for people who are starting out in business and want to start off on the right foot. It's suitable for people who have just bought into a franchise.
Nice.
Maybe don't have the levels or they might like.
Yeah.
It's good for a smaller business who has been in business for a while and knows that they have some weaknesses in their business and that they want to address those.
Yes.
So that might be dealing with a difficult staff member, or it might be having a budget so they know what looks like success, or any number of things.
What a great opportunity just to get in the room with 6 other business owners, but then to get in a room like with professionals as well, two facilitators that can actually help you as well. You're getting the wealth of this knowledge inside other people's heads into your business straight away. And my nana always said it, and I really believe it, a problem shared is a problem halved, right? And that's with business owners, a lot of times business owners, one of the reasons I started the podcast, because I wanted to share insights of successful business owners with other business owners, because, like that one idea that you get might be that breakthrough that you need. And I think that's the cool thing about your course there. It's go and spend 2 hours, 4 hours for 4 weeks. There's a wealth of information that you're going to take away with, and it's just going to make you a better business person.
Yeah, look, we genuinely hope so.
Yeah.
And one of the things we do is we have what we know works, which are real world hacks, if you like. So the classic one is that a lot of business owners will quite freely tell you that they do not understand their financials. And a lot of the time that's not their fault.
No.
It's because the financials are not being maintained properly or not set up the way that they might perhaps be better done. So what we do is we say, well, look, if you're in a situation where you don't have monthly financials to run your business by, here's how you can set up your bank accounts so that you can use that structure to help you run your business.
Nice. Yeah. It's so good. The game changer for me in business was when I simplified my banking account to really give me clarity on the structure of my business. And it allowed me to see straight away where I was going wrong.
Yeah.
And that was probably 12 years ago. It was just before I started this business, coming out of my last business that I'd sold, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna make some changes there, and it was around those bank accounts, and that was a game changer. Very, very cool. I'm gonna put you on the spot. We've been going nearly an hour. I love hacks. And I thought, well, you've mentioned hacks. Give me 5 hacks. 5 hacks that a business owner right now that what are some of the common hacks that business owners really need to know right now? You mentioned a good one about finance.
Okay. 5 hacks. Here we go. These aren't all going to be as good as the finance one. No. It put me on the spot.
Yeah.
Here we go. If you want to make change in your business, here are 5 steps you should follow.
Okay.
You want to build a story as to why that change is necessary. This is so you can inform your team.
No.
Build a story. You want to tie that story back to your business values, and then articulate the behaviors that you want to see that are going to deliver that change and tie back to those values.
Oh, very good.
You want to try and get some peer support
in
the group to help deliver that change. You want to have a look and see if there are any environmental changes that you need to make to help support that change. It might mean moving someone's desk. It might mean putting a new tool into the environment.
Nice.
It might mean new premises. Who knows? Bit of training. And I told Blythe there's actually 6 steps, not 5. The 6th step is you have to recognise that it takes at least 3 months of incremental effort in order for a habit to be established.
Yeah.
So just keep chipping away at it.
Yeah. And that's a big part of it too. You actually have to reinforce it again and again and again and again and again too. Well, it's one of the things I learned in business. If I'd mentioned something once, and why isn't everyone doing it? You know, and it's like, I want this change to happen. Why isn't everyone doing it? I'll mention it once, and then I clocked me one day, hey, actually, you actually have to enforce this again and again and again and again and again. But also getting peer support was a big one. Who else can you bring in that can actually help you champion this as well? And then creating that environment. Oh, that's actually a good one. I've never thought of that before. Hey, okay, let's just move someone's desk over here for a bit, Yeah. That's a really interesting one. That's brilliant.
I think another hack, and this is one that I'm a big advocate of, and I'm probably guilty of it to too much of a degree. But if you're talking to someone about something that's a little bit difficult, you should over-articulate what it is you want to say.
Yep.
Because what people hear is not always what you say.
Oh.
So go the extra yard and say to someone, and a classic example is if we're having a courageous conversation, I'm unhappy with something you've done or said. I might say to you, Scott, look, this is difficult for me to say. I want to tell you something and it's making me a bit nervous, but I need to tell you because it's getting in the way of our success. And then I will go and say it. Now, the fact that we've got this emotional connection to what we want to say, if we can articulate that out loud, that moves the neurons processing from the back of our brain, where it's a fight or flight thing, to the front of our brain because we're using language.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of the heat out of it.
Yeah.
That's a nice little hit.
That is a masterclass in what you just said. Like when you need to have a courageous conversation, always calling our business courage over comfort, that 10% conversation. This is a difficult conversation, but I need to tell you. I love that.
Yeah.
Because it's getting in the way of our success.
There you go.
And all of a sudden, guess what they're going to be doing?
Yeah. Well, for a start, they're going to listen.
They're going to be listening, and listening to understand versus listening to reply, and I think that's a great way to frame it. And then you can obviously keep articulating. I've made that mistake before. A bit of a laugh. Olivia and Sarah have been here 3 years. A couple of young girls that work here, and I learned something from Kevin Eder, and I probably didn't get it across the right way, but it was basically, if you want to be promoted, then you have to be replaced. They let it that if they made themselves replaceable, that they'd get fired. And this wasn't what I was meaning. I was meaning, hey, if you want to be promoted, then you have to replace what you're doing. You have to build your job up and make it so that you can be replaced by someone else coming in so you can be promoted. I did not articulate that in a clear enough way.
But I'm sure at the time you said it, you thought you got the message across.
Honestly, I thought it was a genius coming in and telling them that.
Yeah, nice.
Very, very cool. Hey, mate, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you for coming on the podcast. How do people get hold of you? What's the best way to interact with you and see if they're a fit for maybe one-on-one or one for finding more out about your MAPS program?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. First port of call will be the website.
Nice.
So that's Oxygenate, OXYGEN with the number 8.co.nz. And there are 20 or 25 of us up and down the country.
Nice.
So there's a few of us around. The other thing is you can contact me directly, Noel, Noel, at oxygenate.co.nz.
Nice.
Or just reach out with a phone call.
Perfect. What's your phone number?
029 983 3030.
Brilliant. And we'll put all those details in the show notes and also on all the marketing that we're doing. So really appreciate you coming in. You've shared a wealth of knowledge. Can't believe how fast it went. I was excited to talk to you, but you've really delivered on a number of things. And I know, business owners out there, if you're thinking about that you need some help, go and have a conversation. Go and have a conversation with Noel and ask him some questions and figure out if he's the right person to help you. Because what do I say? You're only one conversation away.
Look, and that's a really, really good point. Find out if I'm the right person. And I can tell you right now, there'll be a bunch of people out there. I'm not the right fit. There are plenty of other business advisors out there who will be a good fit. Just find the right one.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, if you think you need some help, put your hand up and get the help. That's all I'd say to that too, because like it is a problem shared, is a problem halved, then like you'll be surprised how willing people are to help you, and create a relationship with that person. They create a business relationship. You'll be like the gentleman that come in and had a coffee with you, and all of a sudden, how cool is that? His life's changed, his lifestyle's changed, just by making some good decisions inside his business, like by first setting up that vision right first. Very, very cool.
Nice.
All right. Hey, guys and girls, thank you for listening to the podcast. Thanks for watching the podcast. The numbers keep climbing. We keep appreciating. Love getting the feedback. Hey, look, you've only got one job. Now you've listened. What I want you to do is I want you to go and share the podcast. Share it out on LinkedIn. Share it on Instagram. Share it with a friend. Send them this link and say, hey, listen to this. Noel Scott has some great information here that you need to listen to, because here's the thing. Together we're stronger, and that's make no mistake. So I really appreciate you listening. All you need to do now is go out, share the podcast, and as always, remember, have fun, take action, and celebrate your victories.